orchestral spire never slept, it only held its breath. Neon haze clung to broken towers, traffic lanes hummed like distant insects, and the wind carried sand from the dead desert into wounds that used to be streets. Elias Ward lay flat against concrete older than the occupation, cheek pressed to stone, pulse slow, breathing measured. The rooftop was nothing special. That was the point. His rifle rested on a folded jacket, barrel shadowed, optics dimmed to the bare minimum. He had been here 3 nights and 2 days, unmoving except when the city forced him to adapt. Wind readings updated in his head without numbers. Distance lived in muscle memory. The scope showed a slice of avenue far below, where armored mercenaries strutted as if gravity itself worked for them. A voice crackled across public channels, boosted for drama. "Human!" it purred, syllables stretched and theatrical. "You picked a poor perch. Come down. We promise applause." Laughter followed, layered and alien. Elias didn't flinch. He muted the channel, then brought it back at a whisper. Information mattered even when it was stupid. He checked the skyline. Drones drifted like lazy birds, optics sweeping wide arcs meant to intimidate more than find. He catalogued them, not because they threatened him, but because routine demanded it. Discipline kept you alive long after luck ran out. Below, civilians shuffled under escort. Families wrapped in dust-stained cloth moved between barricades painted with foreign sigils. Elias tracked their paths without aiming. He never aimed at people he wasn't authorized to save or stop. That line had cost him before. He carried the weight quietly. "Elias Ward." The voice returned, closer now, as if leaning into his ear. "Former Ranger. 38. Decorated. Predictable. You humans adore rules. They make you slow." Elias exhaled. They had done their homework. He tapped a switch, cycling power to keep heat low. The rooftop sighed as a gust pressed against broken antennae. Somewhere a sign flickered and died. He opened a narrow channel, encrypted, fragile. "Observer still green," he said. His voice was steady, almost bored. "No change." Static answered. Then, "Hold," from someone who sounded older than the war. "We'll call it." He closed the channel. Holding was not waiting. Holding was work. The mercenaries gathered at an intersection, armor polished, weapons slung theatrically. One climbed onto a transport, arms wide, basking in the camera drones. "Look up, city," he shouted. "Your last defender is hiding. Alone." Elias adjusted his cheek weld by a millimeter. He could see the commander's throat through glass and steel. The shot existed. It waited. He let it pass. Memory intruded, uninvited. A different street. A different city. A trigger pulled too early. Screams that came later, when the echo faded. He shut the door on it. Lesson stayed. Ghosts didn't get votes. A drone dipped closer than before. Elias rolled, slow as sunrise, tucking into shadow where concrete met rusted rail. The drone lingered, then drifted away, bored. He returned to his mark and smiled without humor. Bored enemies made mistakes. "Still nothing," the voice mocked. "We thought humans loved heroics." Below, a Merc kicked over a crate, scattering aid packets into the dust. Civilians flinched. Elias's jaw tightened, then loosened. He adjusted for crosswind he didn't need yet. The city clock chimed an hour no one celebrated. Sunlight crept between towers, catching glass, flashing signals that meant nothing to anyone who mattered. Elias checked his watch anyway. Time kept promises when people didn't. Another transmission cut through, quieter, closer to truth. "They're escalating," the older voice warned. "Trying to bait you." "Copy," Elias said. "They will." He settled deeper into the rooftop's bones. The mercenaries began announcing games, threats dressed as entertainment. Elias listened, learned, mapped their rhythms. He did not respond. He did not fire. He waited, not because he was afraid, but because the line mattered. When the channel went silent again, he remained. When laughter rose, he remained. When a child stumbled and a soldier shoved him upright, Elias counted breaths until the world narrowed back to the scope's calm. Kestrel's spire exhaled. Somewhere, authority was deciding. Elias Ward stayed still, invisible, and ready for the moment permission would turn restraint into history. He reviewed contingencies the way other men recited prayers. If the drones tightened their grid, he would shift left, break outline, wait. If the Mercs flooded the avenue, he would mark leaders, track medics, note who shouted and who listened. If command died entirely, protocol said withdraw, but protocol also allowed judgment when lives balanced on seconds. He had earned that margin with years no one celebrated. A distant explosion rolled thunder through the lower levels, not close enough to matter, close enough to warn. The mercenaries cheered anyway. They mistook noise for momentum. Elias adjusted his sling, feeling the familiar weight settle, reassuring, honest. Tools did not lie. People did. His visor pinged with atmospheric drift. He acknowledged it and shut the display. Too much data dulled instinct. He preferred the quiet where choices sharpened. The rooftop smelled of hot dust and old rain. Somewhere below, a radio played a song that survived 3 regimes. Elias let it run, counting its tempo against his pulse. "Last call, human," the broadcast announced, confidence cracking around the edges. "No one is coming." Elias smiled, just a little. Coming and authorizing were different things. He checked the sun's angle, the shadows lengthening toward the avenue. Light could betray you or blind someone else. He cataloged both. His finger rested straight along the frame, nowhere near the trigger. The habit had saved more lives than bullets ever would. He breathed, slow and deep, letting the city's rhythm pass through him. When the time arrived, he would not rush. He would be precise. Until then, he was stone, shadow, and patience, holding a line no one else could see. Above, stars faded behind smoke, and the city waited with him, unaware that permission would soon change everything. For everyone there. Morning crept into Kestrel's spire like an intruder who knew it wouldn't be stopped. Lights slid down glass towers and died in the lower levels, turning dust into a pale fog. Elias shifted his weight by degrees, careful not to scrape fabric against concrete. The city had changed posture overnight. That mattered. Drones multiplied. Not the lazy scouts from before, but tighter patterns, overlapping cones of vision that spoke of confidence rather than caution. They weren't hunting him yet. They were showing him they could. A new voice filled the open channel, sharper, younger. "Still breathing up there, Ward? We're starting to worry you froze." Elias watched the drone grid align with traffic flows below. He traced their timing, the brief blind arcs between sweeps. There was always a seam. He didn't need it yet. "Command," he murmured, barely a sound. "They're tightening air coverage. Civilian density increasing along Axis 9. Static, then the older voice returned, strained. "We see it. They're rerouting foot traffic. Hold." Hold meant don't blink. Below, mercenaries fanned out with deliberate slowness, armor gleaming in the sun. They laughed, nudged one another, posed for hovering cameras that broadcast their confidence across the city. One pointed up, miming a rifle shot and then clutching his chest theatrically. Applause followed. Elias adjusted the magnification, not to aim, but to study hands, posture, the way weapons hung. Professionals carried weight differently. These were performers. Performers relied on fear. Fear made people sloppy. A drone dipped too low, close enough that its shadow crawled across the rooftop. Elias rolled into the seam between vent housing and concrete, body flattening, heat signature bleeding into metal already warm from sunlight. The drone paused, sensors ticking, then drifted on. Elias didn't move until it was gone. The channel crackled again, mocking warmth layered over threat. "We know you're listening. You humans can't help it. Stories, rules, chains you call morals." A pause. "We're going to test how tight they are." Civilians were herded into the avenue. Not rushed. Guided. The mercenaries formed a corridor, weapons low but ready, smiles visible through visors. Elias's scope caught faces, fear, confusion, exhaustion. A woman stumbled. A soldier caught her arm, steadying her like a gentleman. The cruelty was in the calm. Elias's breath slowed further. He counted heartbeats. The shot still existed. It waited. He shifted the rifle a fraction, then stopped. He wasn't here to win moments. He was here to end sequences. Observer, command whispered. They want you to fire. Copy. The mercenaries began naming streets, times, numbers. A countdown without a clock. They spoke of executions as if announcing weather. Elias tracked the one doing most of the talking, noting how others angled toward him. Leadership cluster. He logged it away. A memory surfaced, unwanted. A younger version of himself, convinced urgency equaled righteousness. He pushed it down. Urgency killed plans. Plans saved lives. The younger voice returned, closer now, almost conversational. You see them, don't you? All that fear. One pull and you're a hero. Elias smiled thinly. Heroes burn fast. He shifted laterally, inches at a time, using the building's broken geometry to redraw his outline. The mercenaries' drone pattern adjusted, not noticing the difference. They were looking for movement, not absence. A child broke from the line, darting toward a dropped packet. A soldier lunged, grabbing fabric, spinning the kid back into place. Elias's finger tensed, then relaxed. He closed his eyes for half a second and opened them again. Control was a choice you made repeatedly. Hold, command said again, voice rough. We're rerouting evac through the lower tram. Need time. How long? A beat. Minutes we don't have. Seconds we might. Elias nodded to no one. He rechecked the wind. It had shifted, subtle, curling off a tower to his right. He adjusted mental tables, recalculated arcs. He wasn't aiming at bodies. He was mapping collapse. The mercenaries grew bored. Boredom bred cruelty. They shoved the line forward, laughter thinning. One raised a weapon, not to fire, just to feel the weight. Elias tracked him, then let him go. The wrong one. The public channel chimed. Decision time, Ward, the younger voice sang. You fire, we stop. You don't, we continue. Simple. Simple was a lie people told when they wanted obedience. Elias leaned into the stock, then eased back. He sent a narrow ping to command, encrypted, fragile. They think restraint equals fear. They'll escalate. We know, the older voice replied. Hold. The words settled over him like armor. He watched the mercenaries' feet, the way they shifted when attention wandered. He noted a drone drifting out of sync, its operator distracted. He filed it away. A timer appeared on public feeds, numbers ticking down without context. The city watched, helpless, angry, silent. Elias listened to the rhythm of it, sinking breath to countdown, refusing to let it pull him off center. When the child looked up, eyes wide, Elias looked away. Not from weakness, but from discipline. He chose the mission again. The mercenaries mistook his stillness for surrender. They laughed louder, spread wider, certain the rooftop sniper had broken. Elias settled deeper into shadow, invisible, patient, building the shape of an ending he would not rush. Above them all, drones hummed, confident and wrong. Valor Threx arrived like a decision made out loud. The city felt it before Elias saw him. Traffic rerouted, drones snapping to formation, mercenaries straightening as if gravity had increased. A sleek command skimmer slid into the avenue below, armor matte, marking ceremonial. Cameras flocked to it. Valor stepped out and lifted a hand. Silence rippled outward. My city, he said, voice rich and practiced, carried on every channel. My rules. Elias studied him through glass and distance. Valor moved like someone accustomed to being watched, shoulders relaxed, chin lifted, every gesture calibrated. He wore no helmet. That alone told Elias how this would go. Valor smiled at the hovering lenses. There is a story humans tell themselves, he continued, pacing slowly. That one disciplined individual can change the course of a war. A charming myth. Inefficient. Laughter followed, thinner this time. Elias tracked the commander's cadence, the way nearby Mercs mirrored his steps. He catalogued escorts, noted where hands hovered. He did not aim. Observer, Elias murmured. Primary target identified. Confirmed commander on ground. Static, then the older voice, low and cautious. We see him. Don't engage. Copy. Vaylor turned, looking up, not at the rooftop, but at the idea of it. Ward, he said, savoring the name. You've been patient. Admirable. But patience without action is surrender. Elias shifted his weight, careful not to scrape. He rolled his shoulders once, easing tension. The city clock chimed again. He ignored it. Below, the line of civilians tightened. Guards adjusted positions, not hiding weapons now. The cruelty shed its manners. Vaylor raised a finger, and a platform rose from the pavement, stark and well lit. 2 hostages were guided onto it. Cameras zoomed in. Elias's jaw set. This ends today, Vaylor announced. With a lesson. The platform locked. A countdown flared on feeds, large enough to be unavoidable. 10 minutes. No explanation needed. Elias recalculated. Wind had shifted again, sliding along a glass face, curling into turbulence near the platform. He adjusted mental tables, then discarded them. This wasn't a shot problem. This was a sequence problem. He slid a centimeter to the right, peered past the cracked vent, and mapped the commander's perimeter. Guards formed a crescent. Drones orbited high, confident. Elias noted a relay node on a nearby tower, blinking in a pattern too regular to be organic. He smiled faintly. Command, he whispered. They're staging a spectacle. Execution at 0. We know, came the reply. Hold. How long? A breath. We're trying. Trying wasn't enough, but it was honest. Elias accepted it. Vaylor continued his performance. You see how they wait for you? He asked the crowd. How their faith pins them to your rifle. Pull the trigger and you save 2. Do nothing and you learn how many lives your restraint costs. Elias let the words wash past. He focused on the spaces between guards, the timing of glances, the way a drone lagged half a beat when the cameras shifted. Patterns emerged. He drew them in his head, clean and precise. A Merc lieutenant leaned toward Vaylor, murmuring. Vaylor waved him off without looking. Arrogance was loud. Control was quieter. The countdown ticked. 9 minutes. Elias opened his channel a sliver. If I fire now, they'll scatter and kill the rest. We agree, Command said. Hold. He closed the channel and breathed. The platform's lights hummed. One hostage trembled, the other stood rigid, eyes forward. Elias recognized the posture. Resolve came in many shapes. Vaylor lifted a hand again. Let's sweeten it, he said. A squad peeled away, dragging a third civilian forward. The cameras drank it in. We'll add 1 for every minute. Elias felt the pressure press inward, familiar and unwelcome. He anchored himself to the concrete, to the present. He did not let anger vote. He slid his rifle forward and adjusted the bipod, not to shoot, but to free a hand. He keyed a silent command into his visor, tagging nodes and routes. The city revealed its skeleton, power lines, signal paths, choke points. He wasn't alone. He never had been. He just needed permission to speak. The countdown ticked. 8 minutes. Observer, Command said, voice fraying. We're losing relays. Keep eyes on. I have eyes, Elias replied. I need authority. Silence followed, heavy and unhelpful. Vaylor's smile widened. Nothing, he said softly, almost disappointed. All that training, all that honor, and still, nothing. Elias watched a guard scratch his neck, another adjust a strap. Human habits mirrored in alien bodies. Stress leaked. He stored it. A drone dipped, lower than before, its shadow skimming the rooftop. Elias pressed into the seam, counted to 3, then eased back. The drone drifted on, blind to absence. 7 minutes. The platform shuddered as a mechanism armed itself. Elias's breath slowed further. He let the city's noise fall away until only rhythm remained, the tick of the timer, the hum of power, his pulse. "Command," he said, quiet and firm. "They will not stop at 3. "We know," came the answer. "We're pushing." Pushing meant arguing with ghosts and protocols written by people who weren't here. Elias understood. He had been one of those people once. Vaylor turned to his lieutenant at last. "Prepare," he said. The word cut clean. Elias adjusted his position, angling for a view that wasn't a shot. He marked the relay again, then the generator beneath the platform, then the command skimmer's uplink. He built the ending brick by brick. 6 minutes. The city held its breath with him. Somewhere below, fear tried to force a hand. Elias refused. He waited for the one thing that mattered more than skill, more than anger, more than courage. Permission. When the channel finally hissed, it carried not triumph, not relief, but gravity. "Stand by," the older voice said. "Decision imminent." Elias closed his eyes for a heartbeat, and opened them. He was ready. The countdown reached 1 minute, and the city went quiet in a way Elias had never heard before. Even the wind seemed to pause, caught between towers like a held breath. Vaylor Threx stood straight on the platform below, chin lifted, hands folded behind his back, enjoying the weight of the moment. Cameras hovered close, eager, obedient. Elias lay still, pulse slow, mind sharp. He watched the commander's shadow stretch across the pavement, and measured the angle without thinking. The city's skeleton glowed in his visor, nodes and pathways laid bare, each one a thread waiting to be pulled. The channel hissed. "Observer," the older voice said, steady now, stripped of doubt. "Green light. Your judgment." The words settled into Elias like a key turning. No surge, no rush. Just clarity. He replied with a single breath. "Copy." Vaylor's voice carried again, silk wrapped around steel. 30 seconds, he announced. "Remember this, Ward. Remember how restraint." The first shot never came. Instead, the relay node on the neighboring tower died in a brief, sharp flash. Feed stuttered. Cameras drifted, blind and confused. Vaylor turned, frowning, as Elias flowed into motion. A second round snapped a power junction beneath the platform. The lights died. The countdown vanished. The platform froze mid-cycle, locks disengaging with a metallic cough. Hostages staggered as guards shouted, formation breaking as confusion replaced choreography. Elias moved with the calm of long practice. He wasn't shooting people yet. He was erasing control. A third round shattered the uplink on the command skimmer. Antennas sparked and fell away. Orders piled up with nowhere to go. Mercenaries looked to one another, suddenly unsure who was in charge. "Report," Vaylor snapped, turning in a tight circle. His voice cut through the noise, sharp and angry. "Report now," Elias answered with physics. A precise shot punched through a drone's sensor cluster, sending it spiraling into another. They collided and dropped between buildings, alarms screaming until they were cut short by impact. The avenue erupted. Guards shouted over one another, weapons lifting, then lowering, then lifting again. Civilians broke and ran, scattering into alleys and doorways as the corridor collapsed. Elias tracked movement without firing, letting panic widen the cracks he'd opened. Vaylor grabbed a fallen guard's rifle, rage finally cracking his composure. "Find him," he barked. "He's one man." Elias shifted position, smooth and efficient, rolling to a new angle he'd prepared hours ago. His first lethal shot was almost gentle. A Merc lieutenant mid-command dropped without sound, authority bleeding out onto the pavement. Elias moved on. Another shot, timed between shouts, took a heavy weapons operator before the barrel cleared its mount. The gun clattered uselessly, fear spreading faster than any signal. Mercenaries fired wildly at rooftops, tracers carving empty air. Elias waited for the pause between bursts, and removed the one giving orders, then the one repeating them. Leadership evaporated. Noise replaced structure. Vaylor backed toward cover, eyes wide now, understanding dawning too late. "This is impossible," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Elias lined up the commander and held. He watched Vaylor's breath hitch, saw the moment he realized the difference between being watched and being targeted. Elias did not fire. He took the shot beneath the platform instead, collapsing a support brace. The structure sagged and tipped, spilling hostages and guards alike into a tangle that forced hands to help instead of harm. Elias chose outcomes, not bodies. Sirens wailed as systems failed across the district. The mercenaries scattered, some fleeing, others freezing, unsure who still lived. Elias worked through his map, removing the last pieces that might restore order. Each round mattered. None were wasted. "Command," he said, voice unchanged. "Civilians moving. Corridor open." "Confirmed," the older voice replied, relief threading through restraint. "Evac in progress." Vaylor stumbled into the open, fury stripped bare. He shouted at shadows, at towers, at the sky. "Face me," he demanded. "Coward!" Elias watched him for a long second, then turned away. The lesson didn't require a corpse. He dismantled his position with practiced efficiency, wiping traces, cooling metal, erasing himself from the rooftop. Below, the city surged, messy and alive, but no longer pinned beneath a single will. As Elias slipped into the stairwell, the public channel crackled one last time, mercenary bravado reduced to static and half-formed pleas. He muted it and kept moving. By the time the sun dipped behind smoke and glass, the rooftop was empty again, anonymous and silent. Kestrel's spire exhaled, wounded but breathing. Elias vanished into the city, carrying nothing but the quiet certainty that waiting had been worth it.